Okay, guys, this is going to be, I hope you think it's going to be fun and informative. And so this is a presentation that I gave for the Agile Austin conference that was held last year. And my focus for this appreciation is to really help educate people who are experts in Agile about the views of Agile from the CEO's seat. So I call this presentation the appreciation of Agile, or more truthfully, the lack of appreciation of Agile from the CEO's chair. Here we go. So you guys all know me. But I have a confession to make. So first of all, I'm a CEO. And I've been a CEO for almost 20 years. My second confession is that I'm actually a software engineer. And being both of those, I understand some of the just natural conflicts of kind of Agile and how much we all love Agile and what it means to be a CEO. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to try and help you understand those things, not because you need to change anything you're doing, just so you have a better understanding of the executives that you work with in the companies that we support. So here's my goals: to really help you bridge the gap between Agile and management, and help you learn to present Agile in a more business frame context, and to really demonstrate, which you guys know, that Agile is not just a benefit to software delivery and data engineering, it's really a benefit to the entire organization. So I'm not trying to tell you how to do Agile or that you need to change anything about the way that we do Agile. In fact, if I was presenting to a group of CEOs, I would be giving them a whole bunch of Agile lessons about how they need to be getting on board with Agile. But I'm not. I'm presenting to you, which are a bunch of Agile experts. So my challenge is to teach you how to think more like CEOs, so we can kind of communicate better with the people that need our help. So let me just tell you, we can't do this part today. Paul and I realized just as I was walking in here to present this, that I have a relatively new computer, and my old computer had all of the polling information on it. So unfortunately, we can't do this, but I'll walk you through what I would like to do, and then maybe you guys can just kind of chime in. So as we ask these questions. So the first thing is to really think about on the projects, not about how we use Agile in GAP per se, but really on the projects that you're all working on. Are you typically assigned a delivery date, a feature list, and like a total budget amount? Yes or no? So some of you guys, again, you don't even have to tell us the customer. Just tell us, yep, we typically have a delivery date, or we typically have a feature list we have to deliver to, or a fixed budget. Let me hear from some of you guys. What's the situation on that, on those?
I will say yes on our side. We have been having important deadlines for things that are not always scoped.
Yeah,
So
right?
it's kind of
That
a
happens.
fun things, yes.
Okay, how about someone else?
From my side, delivery dates almost always yes, feature list sometimes, and budget almost never, at least not directly.
Okay, so when we ask this question to a room full of, I don't know, 100, 125 people in Austin, most of them said yes. They are given, they are constrained around, they're told, hey, we have to have this out by March 31st. It has to have this list of features, and it can't cost more than X. So a lot of people still have those kind of barriers that they are being forced to work with. Let's look at the next question. So then again, I want you guys to think about this. I want you to, and then when I say go, just kind of call out a number on a scale of 1 to 5 on the teams that you work on with our clients. Rate the engineering team, either your personal Gap team, but more likely the hybrid combined team of you and the customer team, with 1 being it needs a whole lot of work, and 5 being it's a fantastic team in terms of Agile. You guys tell me, what do you see? Okay, don't be shy.
People is voting in the chat.
Yeah.
All right, so someone tell me, because I can't see the chat.
Okay, I said there are a lot of 3s, 4s, and there is 1 5.
Okay, all right, so that's not bad. So this was interesting. If you look at the combination of those 2 questions, the first question doesn't feel very agile, right? Because you're being told, hey, it has to be out by this date, it has to have these features, and it can only cost this amount of money. It's hard to constrain all of those things. And then when we asked this one, there was a lot of kind of 4s and 5s, which is interesting, not terribly surprising to me, given we're in Austin, Texas, which is a city really known for software development. And if you think about, if you just look at the Agile curve, if you go back to 5 years ago, now almost 6 years ago, almost 100% of the companies said, oh yeah, we're Agile. But as we know, is it really Agile, right? There's a whole bunch of people that say they're Agile, but they talk about it, but they're not really Agile kind of throughout the company. And even for Gap, I think we have a long way to go. I think we really want to be Agile. And I'll give you some more examples in a few minutes, but this is certainly a journey for us to really adopt Agile in the way that we want to. Currently, Gap is working for about 40 different software companies, and there's at least 40 different implementations of Agile across Gap. So some that are barely even doing anything. I laugh. I know a lot of executives that will claim Agile if they have a daily stand-up, they're Agile. If they've held 1 retrospective in the last year, then they're Agile. So yeah, there's a lot of differences in what it means to actually kind of be Agile. Oh, sorry, I went the wrong way. Okay, then the next thing, and so go ahead and put this in the chat again, and then Emma, maybe you could tell me the results again. Just now we're not talking about the specific development team that you work on, but the customer that you work with. Rate the company or the CEO or the combination. What's their Agile mindset kind of across their company? 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Okay, Emma, tell us what we see.
3,
Sure.
3, 4, 5, 3.
And there were some 1s as well.
And some 1s.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
a couple of 1s at the beginning.
Yeah, typically, thank you, Nelson. Typically, when we see that, the scores start to really go down, because Agile has kind of, moved into software engineering, but it really hasn't moved kind of through the company. The company really doesn't have a Agile mindset. And again, this is an area, again, even in our company, where I think we still have lots of opportunity for growth on really making sure Agile is the way that we do business everywhere, right? And in finance and HR and sales, certainly in all of our engineering practices, but across the company, from the executive team throughout every single one of our 302 Gapsters or 303 Gapsters we have today, that we have to really have that mindset. So what's the problem? We all think it's a good thing. Where is it that we're getting stuck? So here's, guys, so this slide is really familiar to you. But it just flies in the face that in terms of everything a CEO believes, right? As a CEO, we grew up in a slightly different, time than many of you guys. And if you look back over successful management philosophy and business practices for the last 150 years, it has all been about command and control, right? So the CEO's job is like, if you tell them, hey, we're not really going to value process. We're not going to really need comprehensive documentation. We don't really need to focus as much on contract negotiations or on following a specific plan. Those 4 things are the things a CEO does and worries about every single day, right? We are in the developing a plan for 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. We are in the business of really focusing on process improvement, going out and building business relationships based on contract negotiations. So from the very beginning, as you're trying to help push Agile throughout the company, you're fighting against 150 years of management philosophy. And the things, I have to tell you, that made most of us very successful in our careers, that got us to the position of being CEOs, was absolutely due to the fact we could develop a very detailed plan and execute on it. So these Agile things are things I believe in my heart as a software engineer. Hey, I believe in individuals and interactions over process and tools. I believe in responding to change over following a specific plan, but it's a lot harder to do when it goes against what you've been doing your entire life and what you think makes your business planning successful. So that's issue number 1. Issue number 2 is, oh my goodness, what are we even talking about sometimes as engineers? So I'm an engineer for a tech company. Imagine being, a CEO of a tech company. Imagine being a CEO of a company in the retail space, or in a company that's, sells toothpaste or builds oil equipment. Your head of engineering comes into your office and he starts talking about, Kanban and holacracy and, data-driven and test-driven and continuous integration. Like, your head is about to explode. You're like, I have no idea what these words are that you're kind of talking about. So that, if we're going to be successful expanding Agile throughout the companies that we work with, in fact, our own company, we have to think about the words that we use. I think many of you will remember a presentation that I've given, say, hey, words really matter, right? Words create worlds. And the words that we're using on, like, scaled Agile framework, a CEO has no idea what to do with that. Now, to be fair, the people on the executive management front, they use a whole bunch of words that you're probably doing the same thing, like, what? Turnover, PRP, debt, funds, correlation, what the distribution ratios are compared to, where we are on cash and our tax planning. So these are words that every single CEO would go, yeah, of course, of course I know all of these. These are the things that keep our business alive, right? So, figuring out how to start to line up the language is a key thing for us to be successful. So what's a CEO really care about? Well, the CEO has an enormous amount of pressure coming at them from a bunch of different directions, right? There are things going on in the market, right? That, maybe the global economy is slowing down. There are customers that are always making new demands. There's competitors doing things that the CEO has to respond to, or new competitors arriving on the scene. There are shareholders, which are essentially the owners of the company, and employees that all want a specific set of outcomes from the company so that, so that they can thrive. So the CEO sees their responsibility as continually looking for ways to reduce cost, improve quality, drive more innovation so that they could get more products and features, and make sure that the operations and maintenance of the business continues in the right direction. Here's where as Agile coaches, where we fail. If an Agile coach goes in, I've seen this personally, an Agile coach goes into a CEO's office and says, look, you need to stop telling the engineering organization what to do. You need to just trust your team. The CEO says, I don't know what you mean. I do trust my team, but at the end of the day, the CEO still has to answer the question of, will we make the revenue forecast? What date is the product going to be released so I can spend $5 million on this marketing event to promote it? What's my attrition of my employees going to be? Are they going to be happy? So there's a bunch of questions that the CEO has to answer to the board of directors and the shareholders and the employees in order to continue to get to be CEO. Because if they don't answer those questions, there will be someone else sitting in the CEO's seat. Here's where CEOs blow it. All of these things that CEOs really care about can absolutely be helped by Agile, right? There's no doubt about that. But we have trouble as engineering people speaking to them in a way, in a language that helps them understand, hey, if you want to reduce cost and improve quality and get more innovation out, you need to be more Agile. And let us help you tie those together. Okay, everybody with me so far?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, good. All right, I have data because you guys know me, I am a data person. I don't just trust people, I like numbers. So there's been a whole bunch of statistics. This set of numbers here comes from Forbes and the Scrum Alliance, both very well respected, where their study has proven out over a significant period of time that companies that truly implement Agile are 60% faster in their time to market with their new products and solutions. They have almost 60% faster innovation, getting new ideas spun up inside of the company. And they have almost 60%, 58% is improved in the non-financial results of the company. So people are happier, there's lower attrition, lots of things get better if a company is Agile. This is one of my favorite ones. 81% of executives across the globe believe that agility is the most important characteristic of a successful organization. 81%, right? So we don't have to convince them that agility is important. But if you guys think back about how did you answer whether or not you thought the companies that you work with have an Agile mindset, does that CEO or company really Agile in their DNA? Only 2% of all of the responders felt like the executives actually know anything about Agile at all. So let me go back. Oops, back the other way. 81% of executives think it's important, but only 2% of people think that their executives know anything about it. So there is a huge opportunity for us to provide tremendous value for the companies that we work with and try and help them through this Agile transformation. Because it's not, guys, just about software. It's about their business being successful. So let's go back just a little bit to what we talked about in that for the last 150 years, since the industrial kind of revolution, everything has been about command and control. Command and control, which is management comes up with a big vision of where we're going and begins to push that down, and then it's determined how we're going to get there. And management says, okay, I need to know the risks of doing this, and how do we take care of those risks? How do we manage them? How do we solve against those so that we have a secure future, right? This is the way business has been forever and ever and ever. And management is beginning to get in their brain, hey, that agile thing is important, but I can only sleep at night if I have released a vision, I've determined my 1, 3, and 5-year plan, I've outlined the risks, I have everyone below me working to deliver and execute on that and secure our future by building on this plan. So what do they think about Agile? They think it's like a bowl of Brussels sprouts. Most CEOs, so we'll just use me as an example. Yeah, when I was younger, oh my Lord, I hated Brussels sprouts. They are tiny little green cabbages that grow up in the dirt, and as far as I was concerned, taste like dirt. So now, it doesn't mean I didn't think Brussels sprouts were bad for you. I knew that Brussels sprouts were good for you. I knew that I should eat Brussels sprouts in order to be a healthier person. They have lots of vitamins and good things in them, but they were, and my new Spanish word I learned, they were guacala, right? Just a little bit on the blecky side. I was not enjoying the experience of eating Brussels sprouts. But I did eat them. And the more of them I ate, the more I learned to like them. In fact, Brussels sprouts are my most favorite kind of vegetable in the world now. But that was not an easy kind of transition. So let's talk about how we now can start to maybe use some language. And I will love to hear if you guys have even more ideas about this that will help CEOs transition from this world that they're very comfortable in, this nice security blanket of top-down management, command and control, identify the plan, execute on the plan, over here into this world of lovely green Brussels sprouts. So let me give you a few hints. Whenever you say as a technology leader, hey, this is really important, we need to do this refactoring or debt. We have this, we need this refactoring, we have this technical debt, we need to address it. So, you know, that's what we got to do. What do you think that the CEO hears? Anybody have a guess as to what the CEO hears?
No value?
Close.
My money.
Good. Yeah. But here's what they hear. The word refactoring and technical debt really to them translate as, hey, you messed this up and now it's going to cost more money to redo it. So I've encouraged a lot of people on some of the teams I work with, look, please don't ever use these words. Call it something else. Call it code optimization. Call it, you know, technical enhancements of some, call it something else. But CEOs, they just don't, non-technical ones for sure. Anytime you say refactoring, they have already like, oh, you're just spending a bunch of my money because you couldn't figure out how to do it correctly.
The first time, yeah.
The first time. Okay. All right, let's do another one. Oh, this is another good one. This is right. I love this one too, because we come in and we say, hey, our velocity is awesome. We have completed 80% of our stories. What do you think they hear?
Why didn't you complete the other 20%?
You didn't finish.
Yeah.
Why are you happy?
That's exactly right. Hey, you can't make your commitments. Because again, and you have to think about some of the rest of the part of the world. If a sales guy, let's say Daryl, if he came into my office every quarter and said, hey, Joyce, I'm so happy I made 80% of our revenue plan, my answer would be, hey, I'm going to get a new sales guy, right? Because again, the world they come from, where you put a plan and you execute on it, you never put a plan together and say, I'm going to hit 80% of that. 80% of it from a financial standpoint is a disaster. So we have to figure out how to use language to them that is not like, hey, this is the way, this always works. We always put this number extra. But I think we have to be very careful in, figuring out what is the story you're trying to tell, because for us, typically, if we got 80% of the stories complete, that was the actual target, right? So if we go in instead and say, hey, we hit our target, that they get, right? Oh, I like hitting targets. Targets, that's exactly what we're trying to do. Okay, let's do another one. How about this one? You say, let me show you these burn down charts. What do you think that they hear when you go, hey, we have, we've gotten this much through the burn down chart? How do you think that sounds to the CEO?
It would be like there is a lot of work left to do.
Very good. What they hear is, you don't know how much work is left to do, right? You've told me how much work has been done. Okay, I don't really care about that because that's now all done. Only thing I actually care about in the CEO is how much is left. Oops, sorry. Right? How much is left? And so when you spend a lot of time focusing on, here's the burn down chart, all they're hearing is, you have no idea when this thing's really coming out. Okay. How about this one? You say, hey, this is an iterative process. We're just gonna iterate until we get this right.
Is there gonna end, maybe?
You don't
Say
know
it
what
again,
you're
Emma.
doing.
Yeah, say Leah, go ahead.
That you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah,
You're just trying.
that's it. Yeah, you're just trying. You have no plan in place. You can change anything whenever you want. You have no idea where the finish line is, right? So let me use this one. Let me use an example with a real customer here on some of these. So we have a wonderful client named 5 Dynamics. We work with the founder, who's a CEO, lovely woman named Karen Gordon, and but absolutely not technical at all. Has never been in a technology company before she founded this one that she has today, but does not only does not understand Agile, does not understand technology, anything. And our guys were rightfully so, we've been doing development on that product for a while now, a few years. We continue to tell her, hey, we have this refactoring that needs to be done. We need to update like all of these libraries, and we need to basically take, a 3 months kind of out of what, Karen wanted to do, and really got to focus on shoring up all of this foundation. And Karen, all she would say was no, because Karen's trying to keep her company alive, and the only way she can do that is to get new clients, and she needs new features on a pretty rapid pace in order to get those. The change for us happened when Karen was in Costa Rica, and Machine and Elena and Audrey sat down and met with her and basically said, look, we've been talking about refactoring, forget that. Here's what we need to talk about. We have to do this code optimization, or you will not be able to add any more users to the system. As soon as they put the refactoring, which is what it was, as soon as they put that in a different set of words to where she understood, oh, I can't add any more users, then she was like, that's the most important thing, we have to do it. So it's just an example for all of us on, hey, we have got, if we want to win, which is get the things done that need to be done, that are right thing for our clients and the solutions we build, we have to be able to talk to them in a language that they can hear and know what to do, right? Because that then spoke right to her sales goals, right to risks that she's had, right, that she wants to grow her customer base by thousands more. And she's like, I get it. That's the most important thing. Okay. Let's talk about, so what Paul and I did is we prepared for this presentation. I'm very lucky to be able to work with him on a daily basis. We're really a great team. We came up with some example sample documents based on things actually we have done inside a Gap on various projects that might help you on your projects. They won't all be a fit. I'm not telling anyone you need to use them, any of them, all of them. These are just a set of tools that you can maybe use to spur some ideas for your own project. And if you want to use them, they're all available to you. We put a link out to them somewhere on our website. So again, if anybody wants them, just let me know. Well, I'll send the link actually to Mariella or so they can share them. But let me walk you through them. So what we're going to talk about here is a document that we designed to help explain epics. We're going to have a little conversation about metrics and a statement that I'd like for you to consider doing on either an annual or biannual, twice a year basis. And then we'll talk about demos. And then finally, your actual most important mission, we'll talk about that last. Okay, so let's go back to what do executives really care about? Revenue, cost. They absolutely care about delivery dates and new features because they have to report on those things to the market, to the shareholders, to the board of directors. They have to stand up and say, hey, you know, the big new version 3 that's going to change our lives, that is coming out March 1st. They care about predictability because, again, their reputation and the reputation of the company is on the line by delivering on commitments. They need to be able to have a predictable answer on, you know, revenue streams. They certainly care if competition is ahead of them or behind them. They care about how quickly they can acquire new customers, and absolutely they care about quality because if they don't have quality, then they start to get a lot of negative phone calls and a lot of negative press, and that's not good for their long-term career success. So one of the things that we kind of toyed with here is basically building a one-page document for the big epics that you might have, you know, in the course of development over a year. And the thought behind this was to really talk about focus how the epic creates business advantages. Whatever those are, whether it's improvements over the competition, whether it's a better customer experience, whatever that is, focus the conversation on that. And these documents you'll see here in a second will kind of build on each other. So the first thing actually, which is great for us to know about our customers, if not, it's really important to ask, is, well, what are the key business objectives? So in the business objectives, this is something that certainly the VP of engineering for any of our clients will know, CEOs of course know, but this usually gets transmitted back from on high throughout the organization. If you think about in Gap even, we have just, through our executive offsite and the team offsites, we established the company goals for the year and the company rocks for the first quarter, right? So we make that public to everyone. We are actually Next week, working on a video, and in the week after, I will be in both Costa Rica and Colombia, making sure everyone knows the company goals and the company rocks. So that you could think of as the business objectives. And this particular set of examples, some of you may recognize it, is an actual example from one of our customers, that their business objectives for a particular year were to prevent data breaches. Because with data breaches come very large fines from the government. And so their focus was all about security. And GDPR compliance, which is a security regulation out of Europe. And then finally, to increase market dominance through having a more common API. So that was the company level kind of business objectives. And then from our side, so we would demonstrate to the customers, hey, here are the business objectives. Therefore, Mr. Customer, we understand what's important to you. And then we talk about how these epics start to address those business objectives, right? So we're going to prevent data breaches, and we're going to make sure we have compliance with security regulations by enhancing encryption, by addressing more secure password storage, right? By having alternate methods of authentication. All of those things that we're doing in delivery are focused towards improving the business for this particular customer. Okay, simple, one page. Not a lot of technology, very high level. Okay, then the executive can use this to go out and continue to have conversations on saying, hey, we're addressing these. My engineering team's doing these 4 things. Okay, now, some executives like to read words in a document like I just showed you. Other executives, it's like they forgot how to read when they became an executive. They like pictures. So what we've done is design a kind of a graphical representation. And if it were me, given I get, more than 100 emails every day, I would love it if someone produced something for me like this, which says, hey, here are color coded your 3 business objectives up top. And then in the middle section, here are the epics that we're working on, and they're color coded to show which business objective are they helping to address. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
And then for extra credit, I'm going to come back here and talk about metrics, the 2 on the bottom part there. So let me kind of come back to that. But the first part is, hey, anything you guys can do to provide this kind of information up to the executive level of our clients will make it so much easier for them to say, oh, I see that my team is absolutely focused on the right things. Okay, so metrics. There's a million metrics, and I'm a big advocate that for each team, you guys need to have the metrics that you need to run successful sprints, whatever those are. When you're talking about metrics for the executive team, the CEO and the other CFO and the CTO, all the C people, you always have to remember that they are a numbers-oriented group. They spend much of their days in spreadsheets. So for them, you have to choose metrics that are not too many and are high enough level that demonstrate that you are staying on top of quality and velocity and progress on new features. Right, so you have to kind of determine, hey, here's the 1 or 2 metrics I'm going to show, which is going to give the information the CEO needs that this is on track. Okay, so let's go back to our Word document. Okay, so we just enhanced this Word document just a little bit. once we got down to, we were talking about the epics, including information on, hey, this enhanced encryption is 50% complete. That's all I want to know. I don't care about burndown charts and 0.9 velocity. I don't care about any of that. On this big thing that I do care about that meets my business need, tell me how complete it is. And then put in color coding, because that's really what I'm going to look at. Is it on track or is it off track? This one, the encryption's on track and it's 50% complete. If you look down at the alternative authentication, it's 80% complete, but it's at risk and it's not on track. And anytime you put, hey, something's not on track, you have to put a sentence or two as to why and what are you doing, right? So on this one, we had a team velocity issue due to miscommunication. We have a recovery plan. CEOs like plans to be executed, and we want to know when. We expect this to be back on track in 2 to 4 weeks. And so the risk is 2 weeks, right? That's everything that I want to know. I don't want to know people's names. I don't want to know the specific, there was a library out of date. Someone forgot to tell someone. I don't want to know about any about that, right? Right there, that tells me everything. Okay, so we're making all of you executives in training by teaching you how to communicate at a very high level and really concise, compelling information. Okay, and you can do the same thing, right, with a picture. If you'll go back to now, look at the kind of the middle part of the screen where our epics were that were color coded. We can even color code the boxes. So like red is on track. I'm sorry, green is on track, red is off track. And a little completion bar under each one. You see the Beehive API is on track and it's 100% complete. Okay, and you could, I like this down below too, because an epic spans a significant period of time sometimes, is having a trend line. So if you look at the velocity and the quality chart, CEO won't understand any specific data point, but they absolutely understand trends. So on velocity, I can see, oh, well, I had a dip in velocity there, but it's back on track. Great. Quality, wow, really got kind of high, but it seems to be trending down. I might want to ask a question about that. So just think about the story that you are telling and make sure that the story is accurate and not overly complex. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about this one. I think, again, I think would be a really powerful thing for us to do for our clients, which is, and we've had a couple of projects do it once or twice a year, not every week, not every month, once or twice a year, figure out how to do here's the value statement of everything that we have done in the last 6 months or the last 12 months. Keeping in mind the things that are important to the executive team. So here's an example. And this was actually, Emma, this might have been Arista, actually. I can't remember. I think it might have been, though. Well, you can see on the team below. Oh, yeah, it's Emma's.
Nice.
So what they did, I just changed the format a little bit, is they focused on, hey, Mr. CEO, usage has grown from 37 sites to 89 sites, and from 100 users to almost 500 users. And then this really cool on, hey, we achieved a 9.1 out of 10 rating from the primary users saying they are likely to recommend. All of these are really important kind of things that we accomplish and we should take credit for with the solution that we built. There's also these things before on the bottom half is, hey, in this time period, we had 20 feature releases, we expanded test automation, we had 95% test coverage. So it's your opportunity to highlight a few things that are a little more technical, but doesn't veer off into language they don't understand. And you can see the use of bolding text really draws the eye to, hey, here's really what I want them to focus on. And then one thing I like to always to do is really put some team recognition in there. This was Agile is all about the team. This was a team kind of set of successes. And so we put those names down there at the bottom. Even if the CEO may not know all those people, he will at least kind of see them there and recognize that, hey, this was a group effort. Okay, and again, guys, this is just an example. So there's a million ways to do this, but I wanted to give you a few tools. And the next thing is, hey, if your team is not doing any demos, and if the executive suite never gets included, then it's not Agile, it's actually waterfall. Because for them, for the executive, if you just go off for 6 months or 12 months and develop a whole bunch of stuff, and then it gets released to production, and that's when they see it, it might as well be waterfall, because they don't really know what's happening along the way. So, I recommend that, there's it can't be weekly, maybe it's every other month, but there needs to be some kind of demo that's kind of packaged up for the executive team, which means to be high level, needs to be compelling, needs to be simple, but where they can see, hey, this is actually making progress. It is another opportunity to, when you do that demo, to recognize the entire team's efforts. And if we think about our Agile principles, it demonstrates the principle of working software, which the CEOs they're hidden from. That's hidden from them sometimes, because there's sprint after sprint after sprint that may not get actually released to the market. So they forget, hey, no, we could ship this thing at any time. We need to remind them of that with these, every other month or so demos. And it shows them how awesome Gap is. So on the timing of these things, it's going to be different, guys, on every single team. But one thing you might consider is, whenever there's a new whole series of epics, that you do the one-page document, and then you alternate high-level kind of metrics, reports, updates, and the demo, maybe those alternate on months. So we send a one-page kind of update on the epics with the metrics that we showed in January and February. Maybe we do a demo in March, we do the one-page metrics. So this isn't meant to be like, oh, I got to spend my whole life doing this. You just want to do it often enough that the C-suite is in the loop and on the same page as you are with where we are with the delivery projects. And then finally, your actual mission is not just to make development more agile. It's really to figure out how to get Agile to really be in our DNA and in the DNA of the people that we work with and with our customers. And what I like to do, many of you, in fact, probably everyone on this call, is not just on a development project. You're on some other, because you're all leaders, you're on some other Gap initiative. Maybe that's the green team. Maybe that's, an Agile COA. Maybe it's a technical COA. There's a bunch of different initiatives, fit by Gap, could be anything. Your job is to help spread Agile through all of those groups, right? You might be in a technical user community. Start with retrospectives. Like if Fit by Gap has got this set of objectives over the next quarter, teach them how to approach everything they do in an Agile way, right? So, you might have a little backlog grooming session. You might have, sprint plans. Yeah, I have retrospectives. But when you guys take the Agile message out to the world, make sure it's fun. Don't let it be boring. Otherwise, they'll never want to do it. So be the ambassador of fun there. and then track the results, right? So that they can see, wow, when we did this, we really accomplished so much more. We got a lot more of the right things done, and everybody had fun, and everyone felt supported in a safe environment, lots of collaboration. That's what our ultimate mission is, because that A part in GAP stands for Agile. Okay, so I need you guys to really be the advocates and evangelists for making that happen. So, and let me just tell you about GAP specifically real quick. So before we really adopted Agile in an outside of software engineering way with traction, which is how we kind of implement Agile, we had dozens and dozens of initiatives. We'd go to every offsite at the beginning of the year. We've been doing that for 13 years, and we would come up with 42 things that needed to be done. And at the end of the year, almost none of them had been done. Once we really adopted Agile and we focused on traction and adopted an Agile approach to our kind of quarterly backlog, defined strategic items, we wanted epics, you can think of them, and so started doing Agile mindset training for everyone. We saw a really dramatic improvement to where now at the end of the year, probably on our list of strategic items, there's still a bunch of them, we accomplished this year about 90% of them. Over the last 6 years, in terms of financial results of the company, our revenue has increased by 92% by customer. Our revenue per week has increased, our annual hours billed has increased, and our headcount's increased. So there's no question that being an Agile company and being iterative and innovative and reflective and collaborative, all embracing those aspects of Agile has helped this company grow to be much stronger and larger. All right, so your takeaways here are you guys are the secret weapon to build the gap between Agile and management in the companies you work in. And in order to do that, you must speak their language. I'll keep pushing on them to learn to speak your language, but in the meantime, you need to show them that you understand how they think. And demonstrate that Agile is not just for software, it's a tool that can benefit, a methodology that can benefit the entire organization. Okay, all right, and I'll send you guys a link, so don't worry about that. Here's a lovely picture of the people of San Carlos. All right, so now we have like 2 minutes for anyone that wants to ask questions. I can stay, other people have questions, but please let me know if it's what you have on your mind. And first, let me thank you guys for spending time with me today. I love spending time with you.
Yes, Joyce, thank you for asking. Here, Audi. Nowadays, more and more organizations are discovering the beneficial effects of introducing Agile. From small, several people companies to large corporations with thousands of employees. But in your experience, what is the best way in order to approach an Agile resistant environment?
Well, it's a good question. How to approach an Agile resistant environment? It's actually, even the ones that say they're Agile in the development organization, but they're not Agile above that. So we have to approach all of them as how to, help them. I think the way is to not try to tell them that we're trying to teach them Agile. I think let that be secondary, let that be kind of hidden, but to focus on we're trying to help them understand how we do software development, how it achieves more and more of the business objectives. And I think if we focus on it that way, don't even call it, hey, Agile, unless they want us to come in and, hey, because there are some of our clients that want us to do more Agile training, we should jump on that. But the ones that are resistant, be sneaky. So do Agile, without using the words, because as soon as they hear the words, they start to stop listening.
Okay, thank you.
I have something, one of the first slides that you show based on the Agile manifesto,
Yes.
it was like an open eye for me, because definitely that's what Agile says, right? But
Yeah.
on CEO eyes, definitely we need to turn that back a little bit, not for how we manage the project, but for his eyes, because they need that one exactly. So they need definitely to continue taking a look at the processes that help them to deliver on their own. So yeah, and all the rest was very good. I have to go, but thank you very much for that, and I will be checking that later again. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll make the slides available. You guys can use them in any way that you like. Again, I'm happy to answer questions, and I'll make sure that you have the link to the tools we presented at the end. And again, feel free to use them or not, or make changes. They're just that, they're just tools. And if you come up with, the one thing I would ask, if anybody comes up with a tool that's helpful on their project, let's find a way to share that within the Agile COE. So that we all know.
Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Thanks,
Joyce.
Joyce.
All right, y'all have a great day.
All right.
You too.
You too. Thank you.